and then there was this page that said like the butterfly effect or butterfly diaries or something, and it had one page written, and I was like, this could kind of be something. So then I started writing it, and then it was like the first draft was done in like 3 months.
So when you wrote the first draft, was it the story that it is now? Was it about a girl who went through extreme trauma, or was the trauma different, or
The basis of the story was exactly the same, but it was like 40,000 words less. It was not this story, but the idea, the Oscar and all that stuff was.
So how long did it take to write Butterfly Diary?
So technically it started in 2012 when I wrote that one page, but actually writing it was January to probably the beginning of April when it was done. And then I added a little bit and I sent it to you guys to read. So I guess 6 months for the first draft, and then another 2 for the second, and then I think I had it just for like 3 months where it was done, and I just didn't do anything with it.
Oh, you wouldn't give it out.
I wouldn't hand it out.
Yeah, she would not. I was begging. Okay. All right. So my biggest, this is like the huge question, Zoe. Like, she's such an ambiguous character when you read her, and I don't know about everybody else. Everybody kind of, she looks different to everyone else. And that was a big conversation that we had in the beginning. I was like, there's no description. I mean, you can only go off of what Lana looks like to decide what Zoe looks like. So what was your thought process in doing that and making your character so ambiguous?
Because I knew that it was going to be very difficult subject matter and the stuff that she goes through, I wanted people who read it to be able to picture their face or someone they know, or be able to basically mold into the character. And sometimes when you read, like Twilight, for instance, when you read Twilight, it's first person, but you picture a you picture a white girl described, like, so it doesn't matter how much you love the story, you can't really be Bella, you can't be Jacob. And in this story, I kind of wanted, it doesn't matter who you are, you can be like, man, if I was in this situation, this is what I would feel like, or whatever. So that's why it was important to me to not have description, that, vivid description.
So I kind of wanted to open up next, like group thoughts. When they first, anybody you want to add in, when you first read the beginning of the story, and she's at the therapist's office, and she has a diary, she's just like, F this whole situation, why am I here, I don't want to do this, there's nothing wrong with me. Like, did anybody, I know, just me personally, I didn't think that she was raped. I didn't think that was what was going to happen. So I was wondering if anybody else had any kind of different predictions that they thought in the beginning, that they thought that, I don't know what was going on.
I just thought she was being rebellious.
I thought she was a brat.
Tough butt.
Like, here we go. Here we go.
Like, I kind of felt that when I was reading it, and especially because I work in a school and I've been around like all kinds of like kids, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, she is ridiculous. Like, you pin down like the perfect teen attitude. So I'm thinking, okay, nothing that bad would happen to her. But then, I don't know about y'all, but as soon as Oscar came on the paper, I was like, oh,
I just want to say, my mother was one of the betas. She got the first draft that you got, and she printed it out instead of reading on the phone, and she gave me the draft. And the first thing she was writing in the margins, and she was like, rape? Question mark. Like, not even, I'm just like, all right, I'm gonna make it where it's kind of obvious, because at first I wanted where you don't know anything. Then I was like, well, I want you to get like these little splashes of Oscar, and you're kind of like, whatever. But even before I added that, she had in the margins with question marks, right? Before we even met Oscar, it was her, I forgot what part it was. It was something that had, Oscar wasn't even introduced, and she was like, she was raped. I'm like, what? Okay. Yeah, Matt's mom. I think the conversation with Matt's mom, maybe.
Yeah.
But that cracked me up as soon as I got that copy. But yeah.
Speaking of Matt's mom, I really love Zoe and Matt's mom, like their dynamic, because I thought that was very real. Because, you know what I mean, if you've grown up with somebody and you're friends with your son, and then all of a sudden she's pregnant, and she's just like, I can't, she done messed up my child's life. So I was just like, it was really cool though, when like, because you added that. So that was something that was added, that whole.
That wasn't in the first.
Yeah, it wasn't in the first draft, because she gave all the characters way more.
Yeah, I think in the first draft, I think the only person that had anything was Zoe.
Yeah.
And Matt.
Matt had a little bit of something. Matt had a little bit of background, but I wish we would have found out what happened with Matt.
I was just saying, I had a question.
Oh, yes.
How long have you been writing?
2000, Twilight fan fiction.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not true. That's not true. I had this conversation. Okay, in the 3rd grade, Miss Mikowski, my mom was pregnant with Trey, and I wrote this story about how happy I was that my baby was gonna be here. So when everybody was playing, had their free time, Miss McCloskey read my story. She was like, you know what? I want you to sit with me and we'll work with it. And she like bound it with red yarn, and we would work on it like 15 minutes every day for about a month. And I didn't realize that like in the 3rd grade I was already writing stuff. I didn't know that was a thing, but actual like computer writing, 2009 after Twilight. But, you know.
Okay, so piggybacking off that question, you have a lot of other projects that you were working on while this was happening. What made this your first book?
And I don't know, because I think you, Sam, my mom, Shannon, everyone knows that I kept, the second book that's coming out next year, I kept saying, I think I'm gonna hold off on this and make that the first book. That feels like it's The Fault in Our Stars. It feels like it can be like popular, like everything. But then this book, every time I would like write a bunch, I would always go back to this and then add something, just like, how about I just practice run with this one, release it and see what happens. And I didn't think it was gonna get the reception that it's getting. So now I kind of don't even wanna.
Where did the storyline come from?
This, I have no idea. Like, that's the thing. I start a bunch of, so in 2012, I start a bunch of stories, and then I just don't care anymore. So I'll write a bunch of, like, even if they don't have names, I'll write dialogue with just quotation marks going straight down the page, and then I'm like, okay, I'm over it, and move on. That's what this first 400 pages was. So when I saw it in the document, and the first page is exactly what I wrote. Like, I didn't change that at all, that her first diary entry. And I read that, I'm like, I can make that something I feel. Maybe that could be something. I just kept going, and it just flowed. And I have like 15 projects, and this is the only one that like I couldn't stop writing. Sam will tell you, we went to BookCon. This book has been done since February 2016, like completely done, like got back from my aunt who drafted or edited it for me. And even when I got the first copy in June, and you guys were invited to the signing, I was still adding words and had to order 4 proof copies, and I was getting yelled at by people because I couldn't let this story go. I even started a second book and took the epilogue out because there was so much more I wanted for Zoe. And then I was just like, okay, the book is 103,000 words. Her story is done. I read a part the other day and I wanted to add something, and I'm very mad, but there's nothing I can do about it. And I'm gonna tell you guys about it because I need other people to know.
We want to hear
But, you know, so, oh, right now?
Yes.
So you know how she always counts stuff when she's like whatever. So in the rape scene that was described, I'm mad that I didn't have her like counting. I think that would have been very just like, oh, that's why she. What?
Counting
no,
what? How long he lasted? I mean,
No. No, you guys know when she's like frustrated or angry or like
That's like her coping. That's her
she
coping
counts
mechanism.
cars, she counts stars, she counts whatever. And I was reading that part, preparing for another book discussion I had, and I was like, oh, that would have been something to have her like trying to zone out or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it really made me mad that that wasn't in there.
So since we're on that subject, that was not the whole.
And another.
Oh,
sorry,
no.
I'm so sorry.
No, she's
And I
not.
also had it where it wasn't gonna be Oscar. It was gonna be a whole different thing where it was like Matt to Dad and some like crazy, just like and throw it out of nowhere. So you're kind of thinking of Oscar is this, and it's like, but that was just way too much. It would have been like 200,000 words, and like, so I just stopped. But okay.
That would have actually been interesting.
Exactly. How excited did I get? Like I was talking, like, and I was like, oh, what if it was Max there? Like,
But Max said, yeah, okay.
he doesn't even exist, so that would have, yeah.
So what made the decision? Because this whole rape scene and her the descriptions were not in the first draft. Like, in the detail. What made you put that in the story? Because that was a big thing. Because the rating of the book. I mean, it was borderline, almost mature.
The reason why my YA book is no longer YA is because my mother was reading it and she said, all this lead up and like you don't know anything. And I was like, you know what? Not to bring up Twilight, I'm gonna do it every time, so just deal with it. When I read Twilight, and for 3.5 books,
yes, and they
Bella,
got,
right? Bella wants to have sex with Edward, and and then it gets to
we break the
nerve
headboard
ending. The next page, and I'm like, I just read all these pages, so you want like detail. So the first draft, it was like, you raped me, and they moved on. So then when I was writing again, it wasn't supposed to stay in there. I just wanted to see how could this fit? I talked to you for about an hour. I'm like, I don't know if I can keep it in here because it's too detailed. Like it might, if it's a YA book, it's a 6-year-old girl reading this, is that going to be a trigger, whatever? But this is not their story, it's Zoe's story. So I felt like it was important that it was described so you know exactly why she is the way she is for the first 200 pages of the book. But yeah, I think that conversation with my mom was probably the reason why I added that, because I'm like, you're right. I just wanted it to be YA because that's what I like. But this book is not a YA book because of that scene. So
I don't know about you guys, but how did you guys feel when she was in the kitchen? You know, in the sink, getting her dishes together, and Oscar came in. Was everybody, because I know I was just like, I knew it. I was in my bed. Like, my husband was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I knew it. I knew it. Anybody else feel like that? It was just me.
Yeah.
It was me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just like, I knew it. But did you guys expect, I did not expect for him to stab him. Like, I'm reading it like she needs to stab him. I'm like, we're not gonna do that. But did anybody? That was just me. No, y'all think that she knows? Do you think? Okay, do you want to buy my book now, Nate? I was just like, oh.
So what I'm about to say right now got me yelled at by you and my aunt who did the second final edit. I think you got mad about it too. But the book was not supposed to go that route. Matt was supposed to die, and that was supposed to be.
Okay, kill Matt.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. That is love. It was supposed to be like a 3-part thing. There was supposed to be Court and Lana, all this stuff. So Matt was gonna die, and I think something like his funeral or his grave or something. She was gonna write everything out. Chill out. I know. Listen.
Right. If Matt
It's
was
not
such
in
a-
here. It's
Thank
not in
you.
here.
But we had to.
That was gonna be her way of like finally expressing herself. And then the second book, you're like, okay, you know what happened or whatever. And then she went in the kitchen and he was there, and I'm just like, he's drunk. Maybe he would say something like it would. I don't outline, but I always have an idea of what I'm gonna write. So when he like walked up, I don't want to sound like he like that. When he walked up behind her, I'm just like, the only thing you can do at this point is stab him.
Mm-hmm.
Like what do you do after that? So that's why I did it, and I'm like, I don't know where this book is gonna go after this. Like, and then it honestly, the Nebraska scene, that wasn't in the first draft. It went from her stabbing him, and then it said he didn't die in the next thing, and it was kind of like, so the time jump, what happened, whatever. We still don't know about Aiden's life really. Why is he so okay with Zoe being annoying and all that? I can't say anything bad about Aiden. But yeah, so
he's like a saint. He's like Edward Cullen.
But
On steroids.
Oh my God.
On steroids.
She's Team Jacob. Oh, you're both team.
Oh,
I gotta stop. Anyway,
First of all, look.
Okay.
Edward.
Anyway, Team Edward. Okay. So anyway, but what'd you ask me? Oh, so when you said, like, when people said, "Oh my God," when the book first came out, everyone was like, "Red, chapter 8. Oh my God, I can't believe it." And the thing is, when I was just surprised writing it as you guys were reading it. So when I wrote it, because I write a bunch and then I'll stop, walk away from it, and then come back and read it to try to get out of it. And I read it, I'm like, does that make sense? Like, does this make sense in the story? So I had to go back and make some, like in the first draft, when she walks in the kitchen and Oscar's sitting there, I feel like her reaction on the first draft wasn't the reaction you would have if you saw the person who raped you. So that's why I had my heart dropped. At the first I was like, Oscar's there, I hate him. It's like,
but yeah, I get you.
that is, you know what I mean? So I had to backtrack. But yeah, the stabbing, that definitely wasn't. What's my keys? We're supposed to have.
Let me try to steal my car.
I don't know where my keys are.
Okay, well, adding on to that.
I have a question.
So adding on to that,
Sorry, she had a
me-
question. We just
I have a question, and it spawns from what you just said. What'd you say? Shush it. When you were writing, there were attributes that you gave her that were like that can be found in psychology, like how she behaved with other people, the counting and things like that. And like you said, like even, okay, I wanted her to say, I hate Oscar, but that's not how she would have done it if he raped. So did you do any background information, like reading to get that personality out? Because it was like really in depth, like.
Well, we talked on the phone about it, like being in childcare and having to learn about Piaget and all these kind of stuff, you kind of just get and watching a lot of Scandal and Grey's Anatomy, you know what I should have stayed smart. Okay, Piaget and all these people, you kind of know, and also everybody knows it. If you follow me on Facebook, you know I have anxiety, so it's easy to take how I would feel. Like that never happened to me. Me had a little bit of anxiety.
It never happened to you.
It never happened. Yes, it never happened to me. She asked me 10 times while she was reading it, like, you want to tell me something? But I was like, if I were her, would I act a certain way? Would I tell somebody? Would I be this way? Da da da. So I think I took from how anxiety makes me feel that I do this kind of stuff. So her version of this was counting, and like I think every time she was in therapy, her foot is tapping something. So I don't think I did any extra research I didn't already know from psychology classes and stuff, and what I just felt like she would do. But yeah.
So I guess I want to dig deeper into her mother's character.
She's obsessed with
This is the thing. Obviously, Zoe kind of almost idolizes her mother because she's trying to protect her mother throughout the whole story. I mean, the only reason why she didn't come out was because she was worried about her mother would feel, because her mother loved Oscar. I mean, there was a point in the book, I wish I flagged it now, but where she says, like, she pretty much changed, you probably flagged it for sure. She pretty much, changed. Her mother was a different person. She smiled, she was happy, and she was in a good place. So kind of, for me, this is probably a 2-part question. I wish we would have known a little bit about Zoe's dad to give us background as to why her mother is the way she is, because you see in the reading that she's still interacting with Oscar after this whole situation happened.
It's alluded.
Yes, it's alluded.
No, it's alluded.
Yes, it is. And that we had we talked about this for like an hour.
And I didn't tell you anything, did I?
I know, because she's a hater. So that brings me forward to my next question. Would you mind
sharing?
Write us a little Kim POV of the whole stabbing scene and like her thought. Why was why?
So you two, I think, I had the idea of having novellas for it. So Aiden gets a novella with his sister and whatever. Kim gets the novella about whatever, and then meeting Oscar. And then who was the other? It was 3 novellas. Oscar.
Kim needs one with Oscar.
I don't want to read it. So basically, I might read it. So basically, they were arguing. I'll just read the highlighters. So just, y'all read it, but whatever. So she says, the air is still, cars are driving by, some birds have yet to migrate, war and poverty are plaguing the world, people are dying, babies are being born, the stars are aligned, and while the world still spins on its axis, I'm standing here frozen in time in front of a boy who says he loves me. And I love that part, because to me that felt like that type of like, whatever. And it took, I think, other than the rape scene, and there's another scene, I can't remember. This took me the longest to write because I just wanted it to feel like I read it out loud. I read it in my head, I read it on my phone, I was thinking about it, and I just wanted it to really, I wanted you to have a moment where you read it and you just stop and go like, oh my God. So that's why I was happy when I got like screenshots from people saying, that scene, oh my God. Or how Aiden says, how many times do I have to chase you and tell you how I feel about you before you finally start to believe me? Why don't you understand that I'm here, that I want to be here with you? Stuff like that, like that's not like, sometimes. You know what I mean? Like it's not.
He's very Edwardy. He's very Edwardy. He's like
all my characters are Edwardy.
But once you write the little novella for
you'll see
why he's
like
so
that.
mature. Right.
Because he's like, they're both like, they had no choice but to kind of mature. Yeah. So, and that's why I time hop too, because I'm like, you can't have this heavy stuff and just still be like worrying about Erica, like, or worrying about like math tests. Like, let's just be 19 now and move forward and stuff. Yeah. But, yes, Nate?
Who was novella?
And a novella is a smaller version of a book. It's not a person. It's a baby novel.
Okay.
And it was going to be from POV's point of view, so this book is...
I know what that is.
Novella, it is a pretty name, novella.
Okay, so let's go back. Sorry.
That's your friend,
what kind of drew me into the story when I first read it was her relationship with Matt. I thought that was really, really cool because I feel like in stories, a lot of times they don't explore relationships with a different sex that's not sexual. So Matt was strictly the friend, and I really liked their dynamic, and I kind of wanted, because I love Matt, I wanted more Matt. Like, I wanted him to like be Oscar. I actually wanted it to be an Aiden Oscar. Matt.
Yeah, I know.
But down in a
I
circle.
feel like he's the Huck to her Liv. Like,
Oh,
he gonna
I love
save her.
that
Like,
analogy.
We both are.
But that came out though in the flashback, or when he
I
was
added more
explaining like that why he was angry that he didn't notice, or like, and I was just like, oh yeah.
Okay, wait. Yeah, I'm about to ask you this because I feel like I might have just daydreamed this myself. Where they were in the hospital, right? He was there. Okay, because that was why. No, because I had this
remember
whole
when he said it,
daydream
but I remember him breaking
about
down
what
about it.
could have happened,
And I
and we
added
talked
that.
about it, and she added some stuff. So I did read the book. I promise. It's just
I'm just
a lot of stuff going on in
the
my
thing
brain
is,
right now.
The people who read the first draft, a lot changed with this. Even like I was reading the first draft and I was just like, oh my God, there's no way this could have been the book, whatever. So I know it's hard to remember because some stuff got taken out too.
Right.
So it's hard to decide. The only reason
Right.
why I know it's because I had to read it a
1,000
million times
yeah.
to know. So I know that. So it's fine. I'm not
Okay.
messing with you.
No. But
This guy
I
right here talked on the phone for 3 hours, did a chart of all the characters, said, look, I don't know her personality, I don't know him, what'd he do, where's her job, I'm just like, I don't know.
Well, you gotta
it
fill in
was
the
perfect.
plot holes.
That's what
You
I
gotta
needed.
fill them in, yeah. But no, I think it was cool. I mean, honestly, that conversation brought out Aiden's awesomeness.
Yes.
So I feel like he was a very flat character at first.
Lillian didn't exist, Nebraska didn't happen, no alcoholic mom, bright spots, none of that. Like bright spots is like one of my
I'm mad because
Yeah, would you rather Matt die or Amelia?
No.
You know
No.
Amelia for one
Right.
page.
I wouldn't have read the rest
How
of
would
it
you
if
possibly
Matt
kill
died.
Matt? Like, what would you have done?
I think everybody be getting in car crashes a lot because in my second book, somebody got in a car crash.
we'll have to change this.
Spoilers. But you know that you'll know. But I think something her and Matt relationship was gonna be very. You see in the beginning, either he's annoying or she's annoying. So it's kind of like if you're on Team Zoe, you're just like, why does he always ask me these questions? Clearly, she doesn't want to talk about it. But if you're team, be quiet. If you're Team Matt, you're like, he's such a good friend. He's really trying to see what's going on with her. And I was gonna have that be the whole dynamic, and you're still like, why is she this way? Aiden was gonna exist, but he was still gonna be a secondary character. And then he was probably gonna get in a car crash or something, and then that was gonna open her up, and that's where the diary was gonna come in place, where she was gonna write everything. So those 3 pages that turned into confetti or whatever, she was going to write that and like do something very symbolic, like in his like grave or I don't know, something like where you're just like, oh my God, and then the book is over, and then like there's a bunch of blank pages, and then you'll see like what she wrote in like italics, and you're just like, oh, Oscar did it, oh my God, this is crazy, whatever. And then the second book, you get all that. And she stabbed Oscar. So I couldn't kill Matt and have Oscar stabbed, and Amelia, it was just too much. So I just had to pick a lane literally and just focus on it.
I was happy you killed Amelia too.
Thank you. Who's happy that Amelia died? Oh,
Happy? What?
wow.
When I read the book,
Amelia
I was
Hayes.
assuming like the end. I'm trying to like.
I can
guess what the end
understand.
would be. So like when you killed her, I said she was too improper anyways. Something was gonna be wrong with that.
See, she was gonna mess. That's why Lana's so weird. It's probably because something that Amelia did.
In my mind, her relationship wasn't all the way together because her husband didn't want to fight for the kid anyways.
And I wanted to make it seem like he probably wasn't all in for the adoption. He was just like, well, my wife
It was
wants
her
to adopt the
thing.
kid.
Uh-huh.
You could have had her
Full
get pregnant
joke.
baby, and she goes, "Oh my God, I had a baby of my own." You know what?
That's a
Little
whole.
girl
No one would
has her
do.
baby.
But is that realistic? She
Yeah.
gets. I don't want Lana anymore. I got my own baby.
Right.
That's more realistic. She had to die. Yeah, and I did Doyle because it was never picked. Okay, these characters' names are not supposed to be the names. I was doing filler names, but I didn't know I was gonna write so many words that quickly. And I was like, she could be a Zoe, he could be Aiden, and I just kept it. So he probably wasn't gonna be a Doyle, and she like Zoe's full name doesn't even sound good together. But I wasn't changing it, and it was only said like twice in the book, so I didn't care. But who I pictured, he was Hispanic originally. I just wanted like a rainbow coalition of people in the book. And everybody would kind of get a description except for Zoe until you met Lana. But every picture is like, it's almost, and that's why I did the characters like that, because every single time somebody sent me something, I could read a part and be like, totally could be him. Totally, like I would never
Yeah,
have
she
pictured
did.
Marshall, whatever his name is, until you sent that picture. I'm like, he totally could be Oscar. But
Yeah, he was a little frail for
We'll
that.
see if the other.
That's the black girl from The Craft.
Yeah, we'll see what the other. Yes. Yes.
She like
What else? I feel like I have like 1,000 questions, but I don't want to like get into like way too much.
you can ask
You have
whatever
one?
you
Ask
want.
away them.
Well, I just had a question for the audience about kind of going backwards to the rape scene, because Brittany was asking, like, oh, what do you think? How do you feel? Was it necessary, or could you? How did that scene make you feel reading it? Like, was it hard to read? Was it like,
yes, I
did you
needed
feel
to,
like,
I needed
oh
to
yeah, I
read
needed
this.
that?
I need this like so I can know what happened.
Both bad.
I think there was a point of closure because reading the whole book, I was kind of wondering, okay, how did it happen? And then finally, when we was able to see it, it was kind of hard to read. Of course, you don't want to which somebody get raped, but it was something that definitely needed to be in the book.
Yeah, same with me. Like reading it, she got raped, and then reading more, I'm like, no, maybe she didn't get raped. And then that came about. Then it really came about. I'm like, damn, do we need all this?
What made you use like the belt? Like you had props.
Oh, right.
Like so it was
I'm
like
not gonna lie.
intense. Like it was intense. Like it wasn't just like, oh, he got on top of me, raped me, and I fought him. It was like I was tied up. It was real.
I'm not gonna look at my sister when I say this, but when I was re-editing stuff, I had read 50 Shades of Grey. And I was like, so then that's where that happened. But
I think that made it intense though. I really think that
And I
made
wanted more
Oscar look
scenes.
more evil.
I wanted more scenes where you're just like, what is happening? 'Cause like, okay, everybody knows before the book came out, I kept saying, it starts off slow, this happened, and everybody was,
Me crazy.
I know, that's how I felt, but I didn't realize because I read the book so many times, so I was like desensitized to everything that happened. So hearing it back with fresh eyes from all these people who've left comments and stuff, the points that are getting the reactions that I wanted out of people were the kitchen scene, the rape scene, Amelia. Those are the scenes that got added after and got more detail anyway. So I think that was important, and I just wanted it to be uncomfortable when you're reading too. Sometimes you have to be uncomfortable reading a certain thing because it's not your story, it's her story.
So,
And I just wanted to say, like, for me, I feel like the rape scene was the most detailed, and so up to that point, there's times like, damn, Zoe's so annoying, man. All this back
So
and forth,
vague.
and then
I
that
know.
happened.
Yeah.
Then that happened, and after that, she's annoying again. But it's like you think about that scene because it sticks with you. So it's like,
And that was like the intentional, I don't know if it was, I forget how I was talking to her about it. You have all that whatever, and then I just wanted it to be so visceral, and you're just like, oh, so that's why she is this way, and so like blah, or so whatever, and just move on to this, or you get stuck on this, or whatever. So
could you go into about the court scenes where you had Oscar and his lawyers kind of making Zoe look like a slutty
Like, yeah.
and like all of the stuff.
I
that
just
goes
wanted you guys to be mad when you're
Yeah.
reading it, because the
It
thing
worked.
is, I don't like writing in third person where it's like, when they're like, oh, she walked into the courtroom and she saw that the room was brown, whatever. You're already in her head, so she's saying, I'm in the courtroom. You're with her all these pages. So I was like, what would just make you so mad? Because you find like, oh, she's gonna get some justice now. They know this and that, and then out of nowhere, her lawyer's saying, well, you didn't go here, you didn't do this. There's no proof of this. And you're just like, wait, what's happening? And then Lana shows up. You're like, wait, he wants custody. I just wanted it to be like you're pissed off. Like, why is this happening to her?
is there something you took out the book that you wish you would have kept in now after everybody reading it and stuff?
I know I took a lot of stuff out because it was just like, I would have to think about that. I should have brought my draft. I did take out like 3 scenes. I think it was like a Matt scene, and I had another scene with Matt's mom, I think. No, I had a scene, there's parts that I wanted to add, like I had something with Matt's mom and Zoe's mom. So you can see like that type, I wanted to play with that, and then I just didn't. I don't know why. It just didn't work. Novella.
Because I think that would be kind of interesting, because I think that Matt's mom is definitely, not, I don't want to say like a better mom, but she's more, I feel like she's just more rounded and like involved. It's like with Zoe, I felt like when she had that conversation with Matt's mom, I felt like Zoe finally had like some kind of like place that she could feel safe. Because up until that point, she was at odds with almost every single person that she came in contact with, even Aiden, because she was so, I don't know if he's real, or you know what I mean? So when she finally got to talked with his mom and she kind of opened up a little bit. It was like, wow, like, you know what I
And
mean?
that's
She
why I
really
had her
cared.
write it in the diary, because you see how she writes diary, like she sucks. She's not, like the diary is like, it's like a prop holder at that point, because the only real thing she really wrote in it was the pages that she tore out, and then like the ending about Aiden that I added randomly. But I had her write that in it so you can see how important that was to her, but you don't even get to see what she wrote, so you can basically do what you just did, get an idea. So you have the therapist saying like, so you wrote in here that, you know, you and Matt's mom got, you know, whatever. So you're just like, oh, why did I write that? Why? You know. So,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I wanted to play more with that. It's just it's just so hard. There's so many areas the story could go, and you had to pick one. And so that's why I couldn't like go back to it or do. That's why there's flashbacks and stuff, because it was too hard to have all that in the beginning, and they're still 17. It's like,
Yeah.
come on, there's so much to go through. So that's why like it's a time jump, and
Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say, I just assumed that Matt's mom and Zoe's mom had beef because Matt's mom thought that was Matt's baby. So I thought that maybe they had a falling out because of that, and that's why they never had any contact.
that sounds cool. I like that. No, that sounds good. But I had it in my head that Zoe's mom would like cordial, but probably feel some kind of way about it just because like Zoe would rather talk to her, or Zoe hangs out there until 7 p.m. because that's the time. That's another thing I wish I would have added. I wanted her to be more obsessive about being home when her mom is home. I said it a couple times, but I wish it was more flagrant. Like, it's 6:59, so she stands on the porch, or she waits to the car, something like that. I wish I would have added. But yeah, something like that. I wanted it to be where you see there's maybe a little rift, but they're never just gonna flat out be like, I don't like her.
What if you make it look like Matt's mom looks down on Zoe's mom because she let her get pregnant? Like,
That's how I
could
looked
you
at
let
it.
her get
That's how I
pregnant
looked at it, yeah.
like that.
I like that.
No, I didn't.
Know what I'm saying?
No, but I think like to piggyback off that point, when you said like how her mom wants her to be home at 7 and stuff, I don't know, maybe that's just the way I was interpreting when I read it, but you could tell like she was just very
Oh, so you
like,
could
my
tell.
mom. I did.
That's
I
what
don't
I
know,
wanted.
baby, but you already told me I read way too much into characters when I read a book. Like, look, see your face. I could break.
Those 3
I
hours
could
on the
break
phone.
everybody apart, and yeah.
She
But
did. I was
didn't
sensitive
say-
at first. I'm like, what you mean you don't like Aiden?
Aiden didn't have any substance.
He
at
didn't
first.
though. Like if you
He
read
did not.
the first Aiden, and you read this Aiden, you wouldn't be obsessed with Aiden if you read the first draft.
You
You would just think, oh, he's a good guy.
And
But
that's the first thing I said is like I like Zoden. I'm for Zoden.
That's what she
but-
calls them.
Oh, my
Zoden.
bad. They're Zoden.
Zoden.
Yeah, I'm for that, but there was nothing there. And so Zoden, why this candy?
Yeah.
Because
Why this
okay,
man?
so as you guys know, I lost weight. I was losing weight as I was writing this, and I love Kit Kats. I'm gonna have Kit Kats. So Zoe got to eat Kit Kats all the time, and then I thought it was cute to just keep throwing Kit Kats in there randomly. It was not a plan. I'm just like.
Oh, it's
Like
so cute.
the one time he bought her a teddy bear, and I was like, he should have bought her a jumbo Kit Kat. I'm mad that I didn't make that Kit Kat. Something like teddy bear born in Kit Kat. So just pretend it was a Kit Kat like in the teddy bear or something. But I just thought that was cute, like just a random thing, like they're inside jokes. So when they got into that big fight about Lana, and then he showed up and like there was no words, and then he just hands her a Kit Kat. You're just like, oh, and it doesn't even mean anything. You're just like, oh, it's a Kit Kat, but it does. Yeah, but anyway, it was because I couldn't have Kit Kats, so those are Kit Kats. And I know a man wants to say this. When we basically lived together in 2010, and I was learning how to cook, and I'm not a good cooker, and I was making food, and I was putting whole garlic and stuff, and I was working a whole thing, not a clove, like a whole thing. And I'm working with babies, and I'm like, I smell like garlic. It was seeping through my pores. So she was like, are you using this? Or I'm like, I put the whole thing in. She was like, no. You're supposed to use one. I'm like, oh, like my whole apartment smelled like garlic in my fingertips. I'm like, some dumb stuff like that. Let me have Aiden tease her real quick and say she put the whole thing of garlic in the sauce because I did that. But
A day.
But, so all the food,
Oh my God.
so all the food stuff was because I was going through withdrawal. So her saying the last green thing I ate was a Skittle because I had literally had like salads, like non-stop salads. I'm like, ooh, Skittles and Kit Kats and oh my God, I'm still like that. They don't come in vegan, you guys. Huh?
So
Yes.
are any of the characters in this book based off of real people?
Okay, so base I'm using very lightly because someone in the back of the room. I use Matt and Zoe's friendship was loosely based on me and Mansoor, to show that you can have a friendship and like people who you can count on someone through all that mess and it not be a sexual thing. So when I first started writing it, when it was like 10,000, it was supposed to be when Matt was gonna die.
Aww.
Because the thing is, I was like, let me picture if something like that happened to Mansoor. So I'm writing this, and we're having this friendship, and then that person dies. That's gonna be some amazing writing, because you get all that energy and sadness and whatever, and then the kitchen thing happened. But loosely based off of that friendship. I'm trying to think of anybody else in the book. Who else is in the book? Oh, and then I said, I guess Jennifer Garner doesn't count because we don't know her, but Amelia was kind of based off of her.
You don't see any correlation between you and Zoe though, like somewhere the way she acts and stuff.
No, that's what I was like. The anxiety, like I always said, if I didn't go through what Zoe went through, but if I did, I feel like how she responded would be that way. And anybody, my closest friends know there's certain things I have to force myself to do stuff that I don't want to do. So in the alternate universe that is Zoe, just run away from it. That's what my reaction would be. Just don't want to do it, don't do it. You don't have to walk away from it. Don't even talk about it, whatever. So I see that. But and she's not good at math. That's another part. I added that because who? Huh? What?
How she was with Aiden.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. That's how you, okay, how she was with Aiden, like, okay, there were certain parts, like, when Aiden asked her to move in, or her reaction to stuff is, wait, what? And that's my reaction to a lot of stuff. If I don't understand, like, I can't believe it's happening, I'm like, wait, what? And so that part and stuff, but I don't think Zoe's like a,
More extreme.
I guess, yeah. Whatever. Some people feel like it's more me, but it's really not. I have other characters that are more me. You can keep looking at me like that, sir? You're looking at me really weird. Okay.
You're sitting behind the table or
no, you're like this.
Okay, so this is something I kind of brought up to Brittany a minute ago. I was just kind of wondering how everybody else felt when Oscar had a stroke. I know how I felt, and it probably wasn't the reaction that I thought it should have had. But did anybody have like any extreme reaction, or did they feel indifferent? Or?
I was satisfied.
Yeah.
I think it's like this.
But like,
I didn't want him to die.
I feel like
the suffering.
I like that Zoe, to me, when I got to that point in the book, Zoe had like she had her closure. I felt closure for Zoe. So when it was like Oscar had a stroke, I was like, I mean, yes, I'm happy that it happened, but I feel like kudos to you because I felt such closure on Zoe's part that when it got to, he had a stroke, you're not like, yeah, that's what he gets. Like, you're not like crazy about it. I'm just like, yeah, okay.
And that was her reaction too. It's like, you would think
right.
I would feel
I felt the exact same way Zoe felt at that moment, and I thought that was like really, for real, kudos to you because
that
like, I could totally get in there.
That got added after I already told you guys that the book was coming out and it had a date and I had a physical copy. I added that. Like, I was getting on people's nerves because I was like, it needs to feel more closed. It needs to feel like she went through so much crap. It needs to just feel like Zoe can relax and just chill, like she's living this life with Aiden and the babies and the kids or whatever. But my aunt, when she read the second draft, after she was like looking at the comments and stuff, she was just like, I just wish something would happen to Oscar. I'm just like, yeah, something doesn't happen to him. Like, you don't really whatever. So I added the whole like, however long he was in jail, 18 months or something that was ridiculous.
No, it was
and then I was like, you know what? And he had a stroke. And he's here, he can't do this, just so it kind of feels, because I was thinking back, because Zoe, like, it becomes, like, your baby, like, this book becomes your baby. I'm just like, originally when, I had it where there was no epilogue, and after it went this way, there was a second book where she was actually,
the cover of the book had a butterflies on it.
what I just answered?
Oh, I didn't hear it.
Never mind.
Okay. But okay, to take that look. You still going? You still going? Because I got something
about what's in the book.
Yeah.
Why
Her
is
diary
read
has
her.
butterflies on it.
Right.
So when before she writes in the diary, because she's a weirdo, she looks at the butterflies and she'll just count them over and over again. And then she'll say some really like, melodramatic stuff like, oh, the butterflies are the same, just like I am every other day, blah, 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 whatever. So I was like, it'd be cute to put butterflies on the cover because it's in the title and it's on her diary. I don't know what her diary looks like. I thought that I said how many butterflies are in it, but apparently I didn't. Remember, I had that conversation with you.
didn't.
But
I think
that
it's
was an
cool.
idea. 22. Yeah, there's 22 butterflies on the cover.
I love how at the end, I like the full circle of it. I love that the book is called Her Butterfly Diary because it's Zoe Oakley's story and it's not Zoe Jordan's. But I love at the end. I love at the end that you did that because it felt like, okay, this book is closed. It's done. Like you can't. Like we're like Twilight. She could go ahead and write us some more books.
And that's what I started
all
writing.
the way open. This is like closed. Like Zoe, I love that you said that this is when she was reading through. She didn't read it. She was reading through her diary after she went through all this trauma and the case closed. She's reading it, and then she picks up the diary and she's like, you know what? This isn't me anymore. This is Zoe Oakley. This is her butterfly diary, and I'm Zoe Jordan now, and I'm in a better place. So I love that. I just felt like that closed the book like so perfectly. It said the end, and I was just like, yes, that was it. So.
That's why I actually took that from my fan fiction because I had it with Renesmee and Mary Jacob. I had her say, I'm not Renesmee Cullen anymore, I'm Renesmee Black. And I'm like, that's something Zoe would say. That's really cool. Like, I can steal from like, so I just like, no one's gonna give me money for the fan fiction. So I do that in here.
Did you have other ideas for titles?
Other ideas?
For titling?
Well, when I didn't know this until I found the old document that I just showed her a couple weeks ago, or last week. The first 400 words I had, 400 words, it said like the Butterfly Diaries, and then it was like Butterfly Effects, and I'm like, that's a movie, so maybe that's why it changed. And then it was Her Butterfly Diaries because it was supposed to be 3 books, like Firefly and Dragonfly, all this dumb stuff that just wouldn't make sense. It would just be like squeezing the life out of her story. But I have absolutely no idea how it became that, and it's just perfect to me. Like I couldn't picture it having, like all my books can have a different title, and they've switched titles, and like I go crazy. I wouldn't call this anything else. Maybe like Bright Spots or something. I think that's gonna be Aiden's novella title. But yeah, I just felt like it's just weird. This book just came together. It wasn't easy, but it just happened. Like it was like, I don't know, like domino effect. It happened, and the other books are like work. It doesn't feel like this. So even when it comes to the title and whatever. So I don't know how that's gonna go. Might have to just re-release this one in hardcover and pray on by that one too.
I love hardcover. Hardcover is my jam.
I know you were mad at
I've
me.
been trying to keep this one from like doing this. I'm weird.
Oh, look at that writing on book.
But anyway.
Oh,
you
sorry.
can do it.
Well, I had a question for everyone out here. If anyone wants to speak up and talk about for Brittany to kind of get an idea of how everyone feels about the characters. Who were your favorite characters? Why you like them, or what was your favorite part or favorite kind of scene?
Aiden.
And Aiden was her person, kind of, right? Who was meant like through everything that she'd been through. She didn't understand it, but he knew. You know, he kind of had to push her there, and I just loved him.
And I think that's why, because you guys know the books that I read, The Fault in Our Stars, and like, oh wait, so I have the Edward Cullens and the Gus's and the Peeta Mellarks, like all those type of characters.
I was Team Peter. I was on the right side of that.
But once you guys like, but I think when you read and you write, you internalize the rhythm of certain writers. So that's why I try not to read too much when I'm writing, because you don't want that. That's why I'm a good fan fiction writer, because I can be Stephanie Meyer in my head and then whatever. So I try to separate. But I think because all the leading men in every book that's my favorite is that kind of guy. So I think that's why Aiden's like this, and then the guy in the next book, you might love him more than Aiden. I don't know, but that's sad in me. So, but it's a very it's sad. Like I cried writing it, and I'm like, am I crying because I created it, or is like I don't know if.
So in other words, I'm gonna be calling you like, what is this?
You're that's why I think I'm afraid to send it out, because I feel like I'm gonna get cussed out. Just getting the
No, but that's good though.
If you're mad because Amelia's dead, y'all. Amelia's not even important, and I'm getting yelled at for Amelia. So
I mean, but you forget about it. Like by the end, it's like.
Yeah, you do. You forget about
You
it.
were gonna be so mad. But I'm like, because I know you. Ooh. But
That's what I appreciated about reading that book, because I initially, when I started reading it, I was like picturing like the Twilight lunchroom when they were in there, and then the classrooms. But the more I read on, it became your story, not just these different, love stories that I've watched, not read. But you know, like it became this individual book that not even Brittany wrote, like a book that I'm interested in. You know, so.
Thanks.
I said I was doing that the whole time. Like I started the book when I was going on vacation, and I was reading it, and I was like, I just kept saying to the world, like, this book is so good. Like I can't believe my friend wrote this book. Like I felt like it was, you know, a real author, and she did.
It's weird, but I'm not gonna lie. That's why I said this book is so weird, because like I read all these other projects. I'm just like, this is good. It needs work. It has to be sent out, edited, whatever. But I'll randomly like read a random chapter in this. I'm just like, oh my god, I don't even remember writing that. Like I can remove myself from this book and read it like I know I didn't write it, and then read other stuff I wrote. I'm like, okay, I know where I was sitting when I wrote. This was just like it was a blur. Like that's why I feel like it was supposed to, even if I release another book, like this one was supposed to get out. Like this is really weird, especially like. It's one thing I expected people I know to support me and thank you so much and like the book, but when it's strangers saying this made me cry and like I saw myself or my cousin went through something, like I get these messages. I'm just like, there was a reason why this story had to come out and I didn't put We Are Immeasurable first. Like I was talking about, my mom knows, she kept asking, when's the second draft, when you're gonna send that, when you're gonna get it edited, whatever, and I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna release this. I think I'm gonna do We Are Immeasurable because that feels like The Fault in Our Stars and what's popular right now. And it just, I kept, you know, gravitating back to it. So something was definitely put on me to write it. I think I don't know. It's weird.
So how did you decide your what made you pick the pen name BL?
So just because it sounds like Brielle, and I didn't realize that until my brother told me. So BL Maru. What made me pick it?
Yeah, you could have put Brittany, or you could have done, you know.
Big day.
So you would like that Bing Ding? For those of you who don't know, I couldn't pronounce my name when I was younger, so I was Bing Bing, and then my daddy calls me Bing Bing. I don't know.
Very white.
Very white. I don't know. I just thought it was cool. I don't know.
You want to be different?
I just wanted to be different. That's like cool. I didn't want to. I don't know. I just liked it, and then people call me B because. Okay. Because my nickname is Honeybee. So.
But I remember when I saw the cover and I saw that you were going by, I was like, oh, you're all.
She actually called me. She called me like, hey, BL McGrew. I just wanted something a little like I went to a book discussion and the first thing I came in, they're like, so what is your real name? Am I allowed to know your real name? I'm like, I didn't know my name is Brittany. Are you allowed to know my real name? It was so weird.
You should have said no.
Because it was a bunch of strangers.
No.
Like, it's me. But
it's me, yes.
Sorry. B. Lee, it was just too much. So and I was probably gonna drop the L and just be Beamer Group because I was that, like my Twitter and everything was that, and I think I forgot until after it was too late. But yeah, and I purposely didn't put that dot there, and that bothers everybody, and I don't care because guess what? If Prince can be a symbol, I cannot have a period after the L. Why does that hurt anybody's feelings? Like it doesn't.
I like the triangle.
The triangle. She pointed that out. Like that's friendship. She was like, I love how there's a triangle and not a real. I'm like, really? I didn't even know that was there.
Oh, I thought you did that on purpose.
No, the lady did it.
That's now you gotta keep it.
I have to keep it.
Now you have to keep it now. I like it.
Be trying. That's the Illuminati.
Be trying.
But it was another scene I wanted to talk about. I can't remember what it was. I was towards.
I had a billion.
Oh, you can go.
We can't go through everything.
I know. I was trying to do the main spot. So like when I added the Nebraska scene because I took that advice from her, giving Aiden more. I fell in love with the bright spots quote thing because I feel like that's such a real life thing because every single person in this room is going through something, goes through something, has been, whatever. And you still have to go to work, you still have to take care of your kids, you still have to do whatever, and it's like, no matter what, even this dark stuff that Zoe was going through, you have to find a bright spot. So this is Aiden talking, and he went through all this stuff, and you're just like, Aiden went through all this, and he's the way he is, and that's how he describes it. You have to find, so he moved to Ohio, and he says like, look what I got out of it, because had he not moved to Ohio, had he let misery take him down, he would have never met Zoe, and who knows what Zoe would be without Aiden. I can't picture who Zoe is without Aiden, honestly. Like I couldn't. Sunny and shiny, and she's her black storm cloud, or whatever, deep dark something. But that's why I had him be sunny and shiny Aiden, because that's how he was supposed to look like that to her, even though to the naked eye he would probably just seem like any other average teenage boy. So
What did Aiden look like to you guys?
you were so.
I gotta know. Well, because everybody thought Aiden looked different. Like, what did he look like to you? Because you love Aiden.
See, I've seen two different Aidens. Okay? They're different races. But Aiden is like, he's cute, but he's not like.
He has like perfect
gorgeous
teeth in my version.
He does.
He does
She
have
says
perfect
it. She
Oh,
says it.
well, there you go.
That's where that came from. A dental kosher.
Oh, okay.
She said something like,
Okay,
I
so
didn't
that's where that
notice
came from.
before. I didn't notice his teeth. I said that because I like everybody have nice teeth. Because so all my creatures have beautiful smiles.
Well, I can't wait to do casting for this movie.
Oh my
You're
God.
looking at their teeth like,
No,
no,
you
you need braces.
But I think that's what I wanted him to seem like what you said. I don't want him to be like, so Edward Cullen, he is described as, oh God,
perfect.
ooh, whatever. Yes, but I wanted Aiden where his personality is so overwhelming that like, I don't even care if he's cute, even though in my head he is. Yeah, I just wanted him to just, and another thing, he was so perfect, that's what I wanted to talk about. That's why I added the fight when she decided on her own to fight for custody for Lana. Like, yeah, I added that because Aiden up until that point was so perfect. It was to the point, it's like, you have to have some type of opinion. Like, you gotta have something. So for the couple of people who haven't read the book, there's a scene where Lana gets taken away from the hills before Amelia's dead, and she's supposed to let it happen. She's gonna go like to foster care or whatever, and then Zoe's like, no, I contest, I want to take her or whatever. So you have this moment where you're just like, oh my God, Zoe's gonna do this, and then she turns to look at Aiden, and she's like, oh, I didn't think this part through, and they get in the biggest fight, and he basically leaves. And you don't know, I hope when you're reading, you don't know if he's gonna come back, if that was like a breaking point. And I did that on purpose because